Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Ground and Pound podcast, a show where, as always, we're hitting you with them elbows of knowledge. And we're here on the Ground and Pound podcast to talk about the judging. It's long overdue. We've seen it, the inconsistencies, and we're here to talk about it. We've seen a lot of damage. We've also seen a lot of laying and praying, but we never know which one's going to get the results. So Carlos and I are here to talk about it, what we like about it, what we dislike about it, and let us know in the comments section how you prefer it. Are you a damage guy? You like to see which opponent is laying on their back, throwing up elbows? Are you a big fan of the dominant position wrestlers? Let us know in the comments section below. So I'm going to ask Carlos, what are you a fan of, my friend?
Well, I heard an interesting take about this online. They said if a guy's on his back and he's hammer fisting you and throwing elbows on the bottom, and is he necessarily doing enough damage to even win? Like, is the guy, in top position in any threat of being hurt? Well, of course you're in any threat of being hurt because you could be cut with elbows. You know what I mean? Also, the most powerful strike you have is your hammer fist. Primarily if you lean to your side, you know what I mean. Like if you get on the side position when you shrimp out and you throw a hammer fist, that's hard enough to knock anybody out. You know what I mean. So there's ways you can hurt guys off your back on the ground. I just think that if you're trying to perform for the fans, for the people, and you're trying to create some distance, you're trying to create some type of damage on the ground. I think that that's a lot better than I'm gonna hold you. I'm gonna put my weight down on your hips. I'm gonna hold your shoulders. I'm gonna put my head in your chest and just keep you in one spot. Catch my breath. Don't take any damage on the feet. Whatever they do it for, and just lay on top of you. Now, me, I pretty much hated this like my since I've been watching MMA. But the problem is they don't do anything about it, and the inconsistencies you're talking about is obviously what I dislike. You see a fight like Boss Rutan versus Kevin Randleman. Kevin Randleman is laying on top. Boss Rutan's on his back. Comes to the end, Boss Rutan wins. Okay, he was to me. I thought that was okay. He's throwing a lot of elbows. He's throwing a lot of punches. I give him that. Gegard Mousasi's fighting King Mo Lawal. King Mo's face was swollen. He was bloody. He was cut up. And at the end of the fight, King Mo gets a decision because he just laid right on top of him. So I'm happy to see that the guys that were and the girls that were getting the damage done, you know what I mean, from their back. I'm glad to see that they were getting rewarded for trying to push the pace and the action of the fight. But um, we all know that the following week is going to change. You know what I mean? And obviously, no matter where you go, it's going to change. Um, I wish there would be a little bit more consistency, like you're saying, but so far, I haven't seen it. And I love seeing guys on the bottom create damage, hammer fists, and elbows, the cuts. But it's okay when you're standing, but if you're on your back, it's completely moot. Got to do something about it. Don't know what we got to do about it, but it's got to be a complete change in how you score fights.
You guys didn't think that you were going to tune in to the Ground and Pound podcast and hear two guys talk about how we love snuggling on the ground, right? You know what we're all about here. It's two for the damage, right? I love the fact that we're having this conversation in 2025. It should be about damage. I don't care if you're on top, you're on bottom. It's about doing damage. It's about hurting your opponent. If you're on top and you land elbows and you concuss your opponent and knock them out, great. But we've also seen people like Kevin Holland knock guys out from the bottom. So you can clearly do damage and clearly win fights from the bottom. So laying on in a dominant position should be factored in. If the guy on the bottom's doing no damage, then I'm all for the position taking, the full effect in terms of the scoring, right? My biggest thing here is the fact that it's like Carlos just said, and I said this to him, when this happened at UFC 321. We saw it with Dern versus Janjaroba. We saw it with Volkov with Jolton Almeida. We saw it in that fight, and it's the inconsistencies that bother me in this particular topic. You've got a guy laying on his back, landing elbows. He's doing damage. While another opponent is laying there on top of him in Almeida, just basically snuggling him. When you saw the Mackenzie Dern fight, she's landing elbows off of her back against my dog of the week, Werner Jandiroba. In previous fights, they'd be taking these rounds to Werner Jandiroba and they'd say, hey, she's on top, she's in the dominant position, she's winning rounds. In this case, they decided to say, hey, Dern's doing more damage, which I'm fine with, because at the end of the day, that's how I would score a fight. My biggest issue is, like Carlos said, we'll go back to the Apex this Saturday, next Saturday, whenever it may be. We'll go to Vancouver, we'll go wherever, and all of a sudden, the lay and pray is the way that they score the fight. It's the inconsistencies of the sport that I think really let this sport down at times. It can, leave people, pissed off at the results of fights, the inconsistencies. But at the end of the day, to me, it just comes down to cuts. It comes down to damage. It comes down to being able to show that you're trying to finish a fight. If you're laying on a guy and just holding him down to the ground and snuggling him, you're not looking to finish a fight. You're looking to stall. That's no different to holding a guy against the fence, a la Mario Batista, Jose Aldo. I had to bring that up. And at the end of the day, if you're not looking to finish a fight, then what are you looking to do? So my whole take with this is that I'd like to see a little bit more consistency. If we're going to stick to the damage, let's continue to do that throughout these UFC cards. And I'm all for it. At the end of the day, that's going to mean that people that are on top are going to now have to look to do damage. They're going to have to do something with their takedown and not just, use it as an opportunity to just basically snuggle up to their opponent. And I think that if that consistency is there, I think that's going to be more, favorable for the fans. We know what we're going to get at the end of scorecards. We know if somebody's doing damage, we can see the difference. There's no doubt in my mind. I wanted Werner obviously to win as the dog of the week against Mackenzie Dern, but there was no doubt in my mind that Dern did more damage. Werner was laying on top and just pretty much laying and praying. So I'm a fan of it. Even if I do have a biasy in terms of who I'm picking, I just know that next week it's going to switch back. So, Carlos, what do you think that they need to do? Do you think they need to go back and review the rules? Do you think that they just need to show a little bit more emphasis on it? What's your take on that? How do you think we implement this moving forward, or do you think that it's something they are going to do moving forward?
Fortunately, I don't think that's something they're going to do moving forward. You'd have to, you know, kind of change the whole rules of how you score it. You know what I mean? And I don't know if they're necessarily going to do that. Not that it would take a lot to change it, but they make it sound like everything's difficult. All you got to do is say, like, if you have top position, that's good. If you're being busy from the top, whether it's actual ground and pound or you're like Damian Maya does a lot of smash and pass as he's moving, where he's like just slamming your limb down, passing, going, just continuously looking for a submission once he gets you on the back. And I'm like, I'm okay with that too, because there's an art to jujitsu, you know what I mean? Looking for the submission. You have to have time to look for it. But if you're just going to lay there because you were getting beat up on the feet or you were getting outclassed or you just need to catch your breath, and like those are the things where and even if you can lay on the guy and you're catching your breath and he's obviously trying to create separation and he's trying to fight off his back, you got to give him some bit of credit for trying to initiate contact, trying to initiate the damage. And I would love to see that change instead of um, I'm trying to remember what they call that rule, but it's pretty much like, if you have top position, they don't see bottom position as dangerous unless you're throwing your legs up for a submission.
Hmm.
I think you could be very destructive off your back. I just think that they need to score it that way, because as soon as they get one takedown, they're ineffective. It's usually their round. And I'd love to see that change. I just don't know at what level they would change that. That's all.
Yeah, and also as well, you think about it, people are paying all this money for pay-per-views. They're paying for, big tickets in big arenas and big events. And, some of the main cards sometimes, you're getting a Dagestani wrestler, not to name any names because I could think of a few off the top of my head, but sometimes these wrestlers come in and they're clearly their plan is just to wrestle fuck people and just constantly shoot takedowns, and they're not even trying to push any action. They're just trying to use that one skill set they have. So there needs to be a yin to a yang. There needs to be a positive and a negative. And I think the referees at times as well, they don't do a good enough job of kind of standing fighters up as well. You know, there's times where, you know, one guy might not necessarily be doing damage and the other guy's trying to snuggle, but the referees are standing people up, sometimes very, very quickly, and then other times they're letting them, you know, kind of do it for, basically lay and pray for a long period of time. But let us know in the comments section, what are you a fan of? Are you all about the damage? Are you all about the guys who are heavy wrestlers that want to be able to use their top pressure? Let us know in the comments section whether you agree with us, whether you disagree. Before we wrap things up, Carlos, what do the people got to do?
Don't forget to like and subscribe, everybody.
And we'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.
Peace.